Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Thank you so much for being a viewer and subscriber. In this video, I'll give you the latest status of the negotiations that are going on in the Capitol. Keep in mind, the Ignition Time channel is about the country, it's about the economy, and it's about your money. I help you make sense of all the craziness, all the madness that's going on in Washington, D.C. so you can understand the decisions, the life or death decisions that our lawmakers are making, congressmen, congresswomen, as well as senators in the Capitol, in the country. Decisions that affect the economy, decisions that affect your wallet, stimulus checks, unemployment benefits, and decisions that ultimately help you manage your money. Remember, the Ignition Time channel is not just a stimulus update channel. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. This is a little bit of information about me. You learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. I want to help you live your American dream. On your screen, you'll see a tweet from President-elect Joe Biden who said, I'm prepared to sign a COVID relief package on day one, but I need, and he's referring to Reverend Warnock and Jon Ossoff, I need them in the Senate to get it done. This shows you how high the stakes are of the Senate runoff races in Georgia on the 5th of January. And President-elect Joe Biden is essentially throwing his hat in the ring by campaigning for the Democrats. Even though he hasn't yet been officially inaugurated, he's campaigning for the Democrats in the state of Georgia. Remember that if both the seats in Georgia go to the Democrats will be able to shift policy and control policy because they control the House, even though it's a smaller majority. They'll then be able to control the Senate with the tiebreaker vote of Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. So the stakes are very high. The stakes could not be higher. We need stimulus relief now. In fact, let's hear what President-elect Biden had to say. Let's roll the tape and watch.
Georgia, I know things are tough right now, but I want you to know help is on the way. My administration is preparing to beat COVID-19 and get economic relief to the American people. On day one as your president, I'm prepared to sign a COVID relief package that fully funds the public health response needed, led by Georgia's own CDC. It will ensure free testing and vaccination for every American and will get small businesses the assistance they need right now. Let me be clear, I need Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff in the United States Senate to get this done. There are folks in Congress threatening to do everything in their power to block our efforts. We need you to get out there and vote for Jon Ossoff as well as Raphael Warnock. We need them in the Senate. God bless America and may God protect our troops.
I'm Raphael Warnock.
And I'm Jon Ossoff.
And we approve this message.
The stakes are indeed very high. I did report in an earlier video, and you'll see this tweet on your screen from Jeff Stein, who reports the new update, which is that Republican lawmakers want to exclude individuals who are making less than $100 a month, believe it or not. Republican lawmakers want to exclude individuals who make less than $100 a month through state unemployment benefits from getting the $300 a week booster. This is similar to the provision that was in the Lost Wages Assistance Program. No such provisions were in the CARES Act earlier this year with the $600 a week booster. Michelle Evermore, who's an unemployment benefits expert, pointed out that this would essentially impact workers who qualify for a very small stimulus check, but also had non-unemployment benefit income and had therefore not qualified for unemployment benefits. So essentially, individuals in entertainment, especially individuals with different sorts of income, would get significantly impacted because they would have had a bigger benefit, but now if they're getting a little bit of income and they get disqualified from unemployment benefits, this essentially eliminates them based on the proposal. Now, is this proposal likely to go anywhere? Keep in mind that Democrats are pushing against this, so we'll have to wait and see whether this limitation, this threshold, actually makes its way into the final stimulus proposal. And speaking of stimulus proposals, they still haven't come to an agreement. You'll see this article on your screen from Politico. Congress flirts with a short shutdown as negotiators near a stimulus deal. It's looking increasingly likely that Congress will have to shut down through the weekend. Can you believe that? Shut down through the weekend. Congress is preparing for the possibility of a short government shutdown as negotiators are attempting to wrap up this package, which is almost $1 trillion. As of this afternoon, they're still arguing. I've covered the issues going on with this stimulus bill and all the things they're arguing about in the previous video on our channel, so definitely check out that video. There are still disagreements on who should be eligible for stimulus checks. There are disagreements on how to spend money for healthcare, disaster relief funds, FEMA money. There are a lot of disagreements right now. And basically, this is a comment from Senate Majority Whip John Thune, Republican from South Dakota. He's an influential Republican. He said, I know people who are going to object to that want to keep pressure on the process until we get a deal. It would take consent, obviously, to do a short-term spending bill. This is the quote. Government shutdowns are never good. If it's for a very short amount of time on a weekend, hopefully it's not going to be something that would be all that harmful. They're talking about the continuing resolution, and there needs to be a lot of cooperation, and right now it doesn't look like there's a whole degree of cooperation. Here's a comment from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Each side faces a fork in the road. Do we want to lapse into politics as usual and let negotiators lose steam? Do we want to haggle and spar like this was an ordinary political exercise? Or on the other hand, after months of action, I believe he meant inaction, do we want to move swiftly and seal the deal? So I want everyone to understand the complex dynamics that are at play here. There are political priorities and there are personalities involved. You have mentioned this earlier. This is like a chess game for some of these individuals. But guess what? You're looking at a chessboard on your screen where House Speaker Pelosi kept shifting her position. The Senate Majority Leader kept shifting his position. The President kept shifting his position. And it's like a game of chess for them. But guess what? The time for games is over. Many of us have run out of time, but here are the dynamics at play. Democrats are not eager. They do not want to pass a short-term spending, a short-term funding bill to continue to fund the government for a couple more days, let talks drag on through the weekend. They want this done. They want this over with. They believe that more pressure will force the two sides to cut a deal. In other words, they want something to happen by tomorrow night. They feel if there's more time given to the Republicans, more Republicans will object to different things and more people will come in and say, I want this and I want that and I want this and I want that. Republicans, on the other hand, believe that they need a couple more days to really sort things out, really work things out. But the Democrats want this locked and loaded. Here's a comment from Joe Manchin, who's a Democrat from West Virginia, who, by the way, played an important role in the creation of this proposal as well as the previous bipartisan proposal, and who got into a heated argument in the past 24 hours with Bernie Sanders, the independent from Vermont, who wants $1,200 stimulus checks. Joe Manchin said, I quote, Chuck was very adamant about shooting for tomorrow, meaning Friday, at midnight. And on a conference call with Senate Democrats, Chuck Schumer said that Democrats are pushing to do the deal immediately, but Republicans want to wait a couple of days. There are some Republicans who don't want to wait because they recognize the need of the hour and how much our fellow Americans have suffered. Now, keep in mind, while these individuals haggle over thresholds for who gets a stimulus check and thresholds for who gets if $100 a week unemployment benefits should disqualify someone from getting a $300 a week booster, while they argue about, they're not arguing about liability protection, state and local aid, but while they argue about live events and live money for venues and money for small businesses, vaccine distribution, for us, it's about putting food on the table. Our fellow Americans need quick cash now. For us, it's about paying rent. It's about keeping the lights on. And Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska recognizes this. She said, and I quote, we didn't know how long it was going to last. Most of us would never have thought this would be the 17th of December and we would be working on yet another COVID package. By the way, this is the first significant package since the CARES Act in March. She said, Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, we thought that CARES, meaning the CARES Act, was really going to be it until it wasn't. And so, that's the difference, is the calendar, the passage of time and the passage of lives. Just incredible where things stand right now. You saw the conflicting priorities of these different senators. You saw that they're still haggling, and you heard about the possibility of a brief government shutdown. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. You'll find a link to all of our resources in the description section below. They should not have waited so long. But I'm the messenger. Let me know what you think. And before wrapping up this video on shutdowns, I just wanted to point out one more thing. It just came to my attention that Brad Wenstrup, who's a congressman from Ohio, was interviewed by Neil Cavuro from Fox. And it was a very interesting interview. And the reason I'm showing you this interview in this video is because it will give you an idea of the complex interplay of several factors that are at work here. I understand for us it's something as simple as direct as stimulus checks, unemployment benefits, stimulus checks, unemployment benefits. But there are many other factors that go into this bill. There are many things that are being considered, such as trying to encourage people to take vaccines, which Wenstrup will talk about. Now, what's interesting about Wenstrup is he used to be a U.S. Army Reserve officer, and he's a doctor of podiatric medicine. So he is a physician. So Wenstrup actually chimed in on the vaccine component as well. But there are political political components as well. In the first segment with Wenstrup, Congressman Wenstrup, you'll see that he talks about some of the political things that are at play here. He said, whatever dollar amount we put in front of Speaker Pelosi over the summer in order to get her to agree on funding for businesses and other things, she wanted a higher amount. But he did say the Democrats have now started to come around and starting to work together with Republicans. Very interesting comments. Let's roll the tape and take a look at Congressman Brad Wenstrup from Ohio, Dr. Wenstrup, I should say, and his comments with Neil Cavuto on Fox today. And again, this will give you a sense of the complex nature of all the negotiations, which is why it still hasn't been done, why we're still heading into a weekend shutdown. But let's see what Wenstrup had to say. Let's roll the tape.
Always good to have you, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
How likely do you think this COVID-19 relief measure is?
Well, I think it's really important, and I hope that we are much closer than we have been, obviously, for some time. Look, we're at a difficult time right now. People are losing their jobs, and you just look at restaurants, for example. Even those that could stay open outside, it's snowing out in a lot of places right now. And, but we got a vaccine that's on its way. So that's the good news, I guess, is the vaccine part, because it could put an end to all of this. Look, we were trying to avoid from the get-go for our country to go into a depression, and that's really still what we're fighting right now. We put out over 40 times to reopen the PPP program, which has been very successful, helpful, and there's money left in there, and that was denied in the House of Representatives by Speaker Pelosi. What I've been hearing is that as things are laid out on the table, whatever the dollar amount was, Speaker Pelosi always wants more. That's a problem. But at the same time, the Democrats have come a long way from where they were this summer on some of these issues. What I'm hearing so far, Neil, is that there's discussion of a stimulus of about $600 a person to extend some unemployment boost. You have a boost for unemployment of about $300, and so there's a lot of things moving in a direction, but we may still be hung up on the liability and also hung up on relief for states. Now, my feeling is let's just take that off the table for another day, because we got to get something out there for the American people to know what's coming their way.
In the second segment, Wenstrup highlighted the fact that it is time for Congress to listen to the suffering of the American people. We heard comments from Lisa Murkowski earlier, but I can tell you that more and more lawmakers, congressmen, congresswomen, as well as senators, are now starting to speak up publicly about the suffering of the American people. In this segment, Wenstrup says we need to listen to the struggles of the American people, and we can argue about other issues like state and local aid and liability protection another day. He's absolutely right. Let's roll the tape and see what he had to say.
You mentioned when you take that off the table, so the liability thing, Republicans would have to just, grit their teeth and say it's not going to happen with us. But Democrats would have to go along with a quick aid for the states as well. How likely do you think that is to get a measure where the provisions near and dear to each party are stripped out?
Well, I think those are very important measures, and so if we take them out of this agreement, it doesn't mean that they're off the table, that we can continue to work on those. But right now, I think we have an emergency situation in our country, and also we've got to let the American people know what they can and can't do moving forward. And as winter sets in, it doesn't make it any better or any easier. I really think that we need to be listening to the American people and the struggles that they're going through, and why it's important that we get the meat and potatoes of this done and let some of those other things be argued another day. I think they're important to argue, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, the American people are really struggling.
Now, I think the third segment is also extremely interesting, and I decided to include it in this video because it is part of the economic recovery. The government, remember, is working on a government spending package in addition to a stimulus package, which includes funding for vaccine distribution and education. In fact, I've read reports that are emerging from the administration telling individuals who have a following to tell others to take the vaccine. And I started to think about that because, we have a following on this channel. I can tell you, I can speak for myself. I believe in science. I trust the formulators of the vaccine. I trust Dr. Fauci. We know that Vice President Mike Pence is going to take the vaccine on camera. I'm going to take it. And I think that should tell you what my thoughts are about this. I want to be clear that I'm a supporter of science. In fact, Wenstrup specifically says medicine is not a place where we should be divided. It has been proven to be safe and effective. Let's take a look at a segment with Wenstrup talking about whether the vaccine should be made mandatory. And in this segment, Neil Cavuto will play back an interview he did with Mitch Daniels, who's the Purdue University chief. And Mitch Daniels basically said that they're going to make the vaccine mandatory at Purdue University. Now, this is very interesting. I have been seeing reports of certain employers requiring their employees to take the vaccine. So we're now sort of getting into no man's land. We're getting into a gray area about should it be made mandatory by schools, by universities, by employers, and obviously that that may conflict with individual choice. But One thing I know for sure that psychologically, as more individuals take the vaccine, as more public figures take the vaccine, I think the skepticism towards the vaccine will reduce, because as human beings, we tend to not want to be the first to do something major, like injecting something into our body. But then at the same time, when we see our leaders, people we follow, people we look up to take it, we tend to be more amenable. So I do think that over a period of time, more and more individuals are likely to take the vaccine. So let's take a look at this rather interesting segment where Wenstrup chimed in on a question from Neil Cavuro from Fox and on comments from the Purdue University chief Mitch Daniels about the mandatory nature of the vaccine at Purdue University. This is now going to open up a broader conversation in the coming weeks and months that we are going to be addressing. Let's roll the tape and see what happens.
You know, while I have you, if I could tap the doctor surgeon part of your fine brain, sir, and get your read on making vaccines mandatory, especially when it comes to the coronavirus itself. I caught up yesterday with Mitch Daniels, who, as you know, the former Indiana governor, the former budget director for President Bush, now the president at Purdue University, 45,000 students strong, and he said for them, it might be a good idea. This is from an interview I had with him yesterday, sir, to kind of force the issue, to make it a no-choice kind of an issue for kids and administrators alike. This is from yesterday with Mitch Daniels. I want your response to this. Would you force that issue at Purdue, that students, those who teach, work there, when it becomes in large enough and available doses, get the vaccine, make it mandatory?
We very well might. We certainly we've done that with other vaccines in the past. We did it with the flu vaccine in the first semester. Now we make exceptions.
How do you feel about that? Make it mandatory.
Well, I prefer not to make it mandatory, although as a member of the military, we have to get the flu vaccine every year, and as a physician, we have to. So there are times where you are required. I prefer to quit dividing the country on this. You know, look, our adversaries and sometimes people within this country want us to be divided on something. Medicine is not a place where we should be divided. But as a doctor, and I can tell you all the doctors here that I know in Congress are willing to roll up their sleeve and get the vaccine as soon as it's available to them. And I think that we have to do the messaging to the American people to continue to explain how this process was safe and it was sound, and we went through all the proper steps. And at the same time, this is technology that is proving to be safe and effective, and America should take it if they want to put an end to this pandemic. And you know, it's going to be really, really important that we do that, because I want the American people to be trusting of this, as they should be, because I trust it and I trust the science that's gone behind it. And so be completely transparent about it, what it can and can't do, and have the American people say, I want to take it. And it looks like, you know, if you look at the trials, how many people volunteered to be in the trials, and now you're getting FDA approval. Even more people are lining up to say, give this thing to me. I want to put an end to what's going on, and I trust these people that have devoted their lives to try and save lives and to produce products that can solve a problem like this pandemic.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I really appreciate you watching. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, it's about the economy, and it's about your money. We cover important matters that are relevant to the country, that in turn affect the economy, that in turn affect your money. So please make sure you click subscribe, you enable notifications, just gently ignite that subscribe button. The name of our channel is Ignition Time. Don't forget to click the like button as well. Now, we release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. If you can get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000. You'll get added to SMS alerts list. We'll send you important announcements that will help you plan better with your money. We'll send you important announcements that will help you make more money, save more money, invest more money. We'll also send you announcements if we ever release programs where you can essentially get coaching from us. Now, you can opt out of these SMSs at any time. You can also get on our email list. To get on our email list, simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts, and you can get added to our email list. And again, you can opt out of the emails at any point in time that you want as well. Sometimes YouTube does not always send out notifications on time. So all you have to do is simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition time. That's youtube.com/ignition time. Once you do that, you'll be able to visit the homepage of our channel and watch any of our videos at any point in time that you want. So you're not dependent on notifications from YouTube. Also, you can become a part of our Instagram community. Simply go to instagram.com/ignition_time. That's instagram.com/ignition_time. You can become a part of our community on Instagram and get exclusive news on Instagram, exclusive content on Instagram. Speaking of exclusive news, you can get breaking news and alerts from us on Twitter. Yes, on Twitter. All you have to do is simply follow us on Twitter at ignition_time. That's ignition_time, and you'll get breaking news and alerts from us on Twitter as well. Become a part of our Twitter community. Speaking of community, please comment below. I'm very proud of our community because our community is growing rapidly. It's bipartisan. It's an intelligent community. We support each other. We learn from each other. We engage in healthy debates, even if we agree. I think it's great if we disagree, as long as we can participate in a healthy and respectful discourse, which is what our community is all about. So I'm welcoming you to join our community. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment below. Like I said, also you'll always find a link to all of our resources in the description section below, so you can dig deeper into the content. If you learned something new from this video, please share this video with friends and family. That would mean a lot to me. That tells a YouTube algorithm that you found the content beneficial. That really does help the YouTube algorithm. I mean, you're on YouTube, you're getting content. Hopefully you find the medium valuable. Hopefully you find this content valuable. Once again, my name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. Thank you so much. Please gently click that like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.